Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and right here on the show, I break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network. Today, we're talking about 1998's WWE Rock Bottom event, kicking off with tag team action, supply and demand. The Godfather and Val Venus taking on Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown. Match was not good. D'Lo Brown's a very entertaining character from what I find during the course of 1998, one of my favorite parts of that year. But the match itself was really not that good. When you're in there with the Godfather, Val Venus, who can be a good worker, you can get a good match out of him with the right singles match, probably the right opponent, but this was just not a good match whatsoever. Terry Runnels and Jacqueline turn on the Godfather and Val Venus to help them win, so that was an interesting twist, I guess. After that, once again, another tag team match, the Headbangers taking on the Oddities, Kerrigan and Golga. Match sucked. The only good part about the Oddities, and I've said this time and time again, was their awesome entrance. And it sucks because it gets cut out of every WWE Network replay because this song is obviously licensed by the Insane Clown Posse and they have the rights to the song. WWE doesn't. So either they cut out the entrance altogether in some pay-per-views or they replace it with some shitty-ass circus theme, which sucks. So again, the only good part that I like about the Oddities, their matches were awful, but they had an amazing entrance, and you can't even experience that in watching these shows back on the network, so that kind of sucks. Headbangers win, whatever. After that, Steve Blackman taking on Owen Hart. A good match with a shitty-ass finish. So they're in Canada, and they have Owen Hart lose by countout. I don't know. Maybe Owen Hart knew he was losing because when he came down to the ring, it looked like he wanted to be anywhere else but there. For whatever reason, they were in his home country of Canada. They were going nuts for him. The match was pretty good. The whole crux of this feud is Steve Blackman dressing up as Owen Hart's alter ego, the Blue Blazer, so that was the whole purpose behind this program. Blackman wins, which was kind of a mind-boggling decision. Like I said, a good match, but the wrong finish, definitely. After that, a six-man tag team match, The Brood, Edge, Christian, and Gangrel, taking on the Job Squads, Al Snow, Scorpio, Too Cold Scorpio, and Bob Holly. An all-right match, not really sure what purpose it served. I know they did acknowledge the fact that the Job Squad cost Christian the Light Heavyweight Championship shortly before this, so the match wasn't completely meaningless, but the match itself was just kind of there. Christian wins with a kill switch, unpretty or whatever, to win the match, as they should have. I mean, it's the Job Squad after all, obviously. After that, one of the better, honestly, matches of the night, Goldust taking on Jeff Jarrett in a striptease match. So the whole stipulation behind this was this. If Goldust won, Jeff Jarrett's fiancée, girlfriend, manager, valet, whatever the hell you want to call her, Deborah, would have to strip. But if Jeff Jarrett won, then Goldust would have to strip. Obviously, no one wanted to see that. Jeff Jarrett initially won after Deborah interfered and the referee was not looking and hit Goldust with the guitar, shattered all over his head, obviously. How the referee didn't see that when he was standing 2 feet away from fucking Goldust, they have no idea. Worse yet, the guitar shot, it was fine, but it looked like it took 10 minutes to execute because Goldust was looking anywhere but at Deborah. So she was standing there like a clown for like 20 seconds holding the guitar before she finally hit him with the guitar. So anyway, so he wins initially, and then out comes Shawn Michaels, who's the then WWF commissioner, reverses the decision, sends Jeff Jarrett to the back to get a cold one, he says, and he says that Goldust wins the match via disqualification. So because of that, Deborah has to tease. Initially, she doesn't want to. They play the music. She gets into it. She's happy to do it. The place all creams their pants, and that's pretty much it. So not a bad sight, and the match was good. So they love the post-match stuff. The match wasn't anything too special. It was all right compared to everything else in the show. It was pretty good, actually, by comparison. But the post-match stuff was undoubtedly the highlight of this show. After that, for the WWE Tag Team titles, New Age Outlaws defending the gold against the Corporation's Big Boss Men and Ken Shamrock. Not a good match whatsoever. The only interesting tidbit about this matchup was the fact that Shawn Michaels was in the Corporation's pocket, helping the Corporation win or attempting to interfere and helping them win at several points. It backfired. New Age Outlaws retain their titles and win and retain their titles, rather, in that order. But still, not a good match at all, really. I mean, you can never really get a great match out of the New Age Outlaws, and you put them in there with the Big Boss Men and Ken Shamrock. It's bound to be a boring bout, so not a good match whatsoever. Interesting psychology there with Michaels and his former friends, New Age Outlaws. But other than that, the match itself was really not that good. Undoubtedly, the best match in the entire show. I know I said the striptease thing was the highlight of the show. This was the best match on the show, which isn't really saying that much, and I'll explain why in a second. The Rock defended the WWE Championship against Mankind after the fallout from Survivor Series. So we had that whole Capital Carnage event in England a few weeks before this, which was basically a televised house show. You had that great match between The Rock and X-Pac. So this was the pay-per-view that really should have followed up Survivor Series, if you can really count, if you could really count the Capital Carnage event, I mean, I guess you really can just because it was just kind of there. Nothing was really on the line for the most part. But regardless, this match was all right. I mean, not quite as good as their later encounters over the WWE title on the first Raw of 1999, at the Royal Rumble, at the February pay-per-view, No Way Out, I think it was in 99 at that point, or maybe it was something else, I forgot. But this was good. I thought this was a really good match for what it was. Not a great match, again, compared to the other matches later on. Not great, but still good. And the crowd went nuts. They really, really wanted to see Mankind win. And initially he did. The crowd went nuts when he got the 1, 2, 3. But because he used Mr. Sacco to force Rock to pass out, McMahon reversed the decision, said Mankind wins via disqualification or knockout, but he does not win the WWE Championship because he could only win it by pinfall or submission. So he makes a great point, but the best part about this was that The Rock won the WWE title, as you can recall. The whole point of this finish, and I love this finish, just because the whole point of The Rock winning the WWE Championship at Survivor Series was because McMahon, or rather Mankind, did not say I quit to the sharpshooter, and the whole screw job from Survivor Series 97 1 year later. I talked about it in my Survivor Series 98 review. But I like that. I like that finish a lot. The match was all right, but I thought the finish was excellent in building to Mankind's eventual title win on the first Raw of 1999. But I thought that was great, and Mankind took out McMahon afterwards. So I guess in that case, Bret Hart must be still the WWE champion, even to this day. He must be happy about that. So we get to the main event, a Buried Alive match for a spot in the 1998 Royal Rumble match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker. This was just not good. This was really fucking boring. The crowd kind of had they were kind of waiting for something to happen, really. I mean, they just kind of sat there waiting for like the next big thing or something big to happen, something huge, but really wasn't anything of note whatsoever. There was just a lot of brawling dragged out for 20 fucking minutes. Just a really boring, dull match for the most part. Kane interferes at the end, attacks The Undertaker, Stone Cold takes advantage, buries Taker, wins the match, and he is in the 1999 Royal Rumble match, which he would not win, obviously, because McMahon would win that Rumble instead for whatever reason. I don't know why. But anyway, this was not a good match, and I thought the match they had at SummerSlam was great. This was just nowhere near as good, unfortunately, despite the extra stipulation that you would think there'd be a great match. It really wasn't. But I said this before. I talked about this in my Armageddon 06 review from a few weeks ago, that a lot of the Taker specialty matches, whether it be Buried Alive, whether it be Inferno, Casket, all this everything pretty much other than Hell in the Cell, is more often than not boring. Last Ride match, the same thing. They're just not all that exciting, and this was no exception. So that closed off a pretty dull show. This was not a good show whatsoever. Definitely not one of 98's better pay-per-view outings. And I'm not just saying that because I don't like the year of 1998. I'm just saying that because this really was not a good show. I thought the Capital Carnage event from a couple weeks earlier was a lot better than this, to be quite honest with you. So I like that I watched this show right after that one, just because it took place immediately after that show from like 2 weeks earlier, a week earlier, even if that. But I thought this show was a tough follow-up to that show, because I thought this really was not that good, and that would take us into 1999. So overall, definitely not a must-see show by any means. The main event sucked. A lot of the undercard was not good or just inconsequential. But like I said, the best match in the entire show would probably be Mankind and The Rock. But even then, they would have better matches down the line. I would recommend checking out before that one. But I thought the whole finish was great. Goldust and Jeff Jarrett was good. Blackman and Owen Hart was good, but everything else was total trash for the most part. So not a must-see show by any means, but if there's any one match to watch from the Rock Bottom event, it would certainly be the WWE title match between Mankind and The Rock. So that being said, my next pay-per-view review right here on WrestleRant will be covering the St. Valentine's Day Massacre event from, obviously, Valentine's Day 1999. I've watched it before. I watched it on Valentine's Day, believe it or not, about a year and a half ago. Obviously, Valentine's Day 2015. So I will be watching again to refresh my memory. It's been so long, I don't really remember what my thoughts on it were. Not a great show from what I can recall, but we'll see what happens when I rewatch it this week and get the review up for you guys right here on WrestleRant. So in the meantime and in between time, folks, as always, be sure to find me on the Twitter machine. Follow me there at WrestleRant. Also on Facebook, give the pod channel a thumbs up at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. And right here on YouTube by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. So as always, guys, have a great rest of your week or weekend, whatever it might be. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch you fine folks down the road.